All right, we are live. Welcome. This is Orion Rising. I'm your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into the show. All right, share this out, share this out, share this out. Welcome. It's the Law of One. Welcome, welcome. All right, share this out, share this out. It's Friday night. It's the Law of One. There's nothing really crazy going on in the world because there's all kinds of craziness going on in the world, right? Denise, welcome. Woo Riders, welcome. Share this out. Like I said, it's Friday night. I'm not going to get into too many details of anything crazy going on in the world because it's the normal crazy that's going on in the world, right? So let me pull myself into full screen. Let me pull this banner down here, right? Let's pull the overlay down. There I am. Put myself up in full screen. Welcome, welcome. I don't know if the TV is too loud in the background. It usually is. So we'll turn up the sound just a little bit on the microphone here. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I didn't even check the microphone to make sure what microphone array I was actually on. So let me know if I'm seeming to be a little too distant in the microphone because I didn't check it. I was in a hurry and I might be on the wrong microphone. I guess I could do that real quick while I'm looking at this right here. Let me take a look and see where the microphone is in the audio. It looks like it's on the audio array, so I should be fine. Okay, good. So we're all right with that. So welcome, everybody, right? It's Friday night, the Law of One. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Denise, tag them. Where are they? Tag those people. Get them in here. Thank you for that. All right, tag everybody and get them in here. Okay, so we're on session 100, right? So I backed up a few because we were on like question 9, almost the end of session 100. But I backed up to question 5, I think is where we're at. So we'll run through. So we're getting down to the wire. Next couple of weeks, we're going to run out of the Law of One. It's going to be done and over with because there's only 106 sessions. So we'll see what happens then. So we'll end up moving on to something else, probably my book. We'll talk about that. Dead Sea Scrolls. I've been planning on talking about some of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Maybe we'll go on to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I've been really interested in talking about that because it is about the ascension. Same thing with, I might just line things up and talk about them. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Colburn Bible from Scotland, the Dead Sea Scrolls specifically. Let's starting with like Judas, the book of Judas, probably the book of Truth first, then maybe the book of Judas, because there's some books in the Dead Sea Scrolls that most people don't know about. People know about the other ones like James and Philip and things like that, but not very many people know about the book of Truth, and not very many people know about the book of Judas. You hear about people talking about the book of Judas, but they don't get into details. So I'm thinking about cutting through those. Maybe I'll go to the book of Truth first. I'm not sure yet, but I will be talking about my book in the meantime, which you guys can see if you're watching the MP4 broadcast. You can see my book in the background. If you're not, then you're on the MP3 broadcast. You can look that up. So yeah, tag everybody. It's a holiday weekend here in the United States for Memorial Day. This is Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day being this Monday, so most of the Americans are probably off partying, barbecuing, and not wanting to tune in to a spiritual podcast. So we'll see how many people show up in the United States, but everybody around the rest of the world, they don't have this holiday weekend, so it's just a normal weekend for them. Okay, so like I said, we're on session 100. There's Cassie. Welcome. Cassie, I apologize. I didn't have time to talk to you. Cassie was trying to get a hold of me yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And Wednesday, because Brooke was flying back to Australia. So because she was flying back to Australia, then I was talking to her, and then Thursday when she got home, I was talking to her the entire time when she was home until wee hours in the morning last night for me, until 1:30 in the morning, because we were applying for a house over there that she met with a realtor. When she got home, she didn't even sleep. She got home, she got off the flight, took the train, took a bus, got to her house, ordered pizza, ate that, immediately went to meet a realtor and met a realtor who said that there was another house that we could be interested, that we would probably want. So then she hightailed it with a friend of hers and went to that house and had me on video to walk it with them. So just so you guys know. So Cassie, I didn't have a time to talk to you yesterday because we were doing that. And then we were filling out an application for a house over there, and hoping that would be something that we would be getting in like literally in the next few days, and being able to start looking at putting a deposit down on a 3-bedroom over there. Hopefully we get it because it's a nice house. Okay, so Cassie, at some point I'll be able to have a conversation. Probably not tonight because Brooke is going to work right now, and her lunch will be when my dinner is. So I'll be talking to her until about 8 p.m. our time tonight. And then I won't get to talk to her again until midnight when she gets off work, 12:30. In fact, there's Brooke now. Welcome, Brooke. Okay, so tag everybody and get them in here. Like I said, it's a holiday weekend over here in the United States. So I'm not sure how many people from the U.S. are going to show up to listen to the Law of One, but we are on session 100, and we're on, I believe, question 5 is where I'm sitting right now. So that's a very short session. I only think there's 12 or 13 questions in that session, and then it goes to session 101, and we only have 106. So we'll see how far we get today. We'll get a couple of sessions through, I'm sure, and then next week do the same. We probably have about 2 more or 3 more weeks maximum, and the Law of One will be done. Like I said, I'll probably be moving on to talking about my book, one thing, and then also I believe that we should move into the Dead Sea Scrolls, specifically the Book of Truth, the Book of Judas, definitely the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which is not Dead Sea Scroll. Those were Egyptian scrolls that they had found from Hermes Trismegistus had. That's why they believe that Hermes was actually Thoth reincarnated as Hermes thousands of years later. So they buried the emerald tablets at the feet of Hermes, the statue, and they had dug that up. People found that. Reese, welcome. So people who have found that, that's why we have the emerald tablets of Thoth today, because Hermes had them. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a sound check and get started on the Law of One. Let me pull that up into full screen here and then go full screen over here, and we'll do a sound check. Like I said, it's question 5. So let me go ahead and start it. We'll do a sound check. You guys let me know if you can hear it okay, all right? Here we go.
Question 100.5. Questioner, thank you. We will probably return to this card in the next session with more observations after we consider Ra's comments. To make efficient use of our time at this time, I will make some notes with respect to card 7. First, the veil between the conscious and unconscious mind is removed. The veil, I assume, is the curtain at the top and is lifted. Even though this veil has been removed, the perception of intelligent infinity is still distorted by the beliefs and means of seeking of the seeker. Would Ra comment on that? Answer, I am Ra. As one observes the veil of the image of the great way of mind, it may be helpful to ideate using the framework of environment. The great way of mind, body, or spirit is intended to limn the milieu within which the work of mind, body, or spirit shall be placed. Thusly, the veil is shown both somewhat lifted and still present, since the work of mind and its transformation involves progressive lifting of the great veil betwixt the conscious and deep minds. The complete success of this attempt is not properly a portion of third density work and, more especially, third density mental processes. Question 100.6. Questioner, the fact that the veil is raised higher on the right-hand side indicates to me that the adept choosing the positive polarity would have greater success in penetrating the veil. Would Ra comment? Answer, I am Ra. This is a true statement if it is realized that the questioner speaks of potential success. Indeed, your third density experience is distorted or skewed so that the positive orientation has more weight than the so-called negative. Question 100.7.
Right. Sorry, I opened up a different screen, and that caused that to get blurry. That happens sometimes when I open up another screen on the thing. For whatever reason, it does that. But I wanted to come back to that because we had passed that. I wanted to go back to that question there. And thank you, Brooke, by the way, for letting me know about the sound. I want to go back to that right there because we talked about this last week. Talking about the veiling and noticing that in the cards that they're talking about, the tarot card that they're talking about, it shows that the veiling potential is higher on the path of the right, and path of the right being the in service to others and not in service to self, than the path on the left, which is in service to self. And Ra is confirming here that because of the dynamic of the dichotomy between good and evil on this earth, 14% being in service to self and 86% being in service to others, that the potentiation of the path on the right being in service to others has a greater ability, or has the ability to become, you have the ability as an individual to become unveiled faster if you choose being in service to others, because of the large portion, 86% of the population being in fact in service to others. That allows that potentiation to happen faster. It allows the people to become unveiled faster than the people who are in service to self. So the dynamic of these things change depending on the dynamic of or the dichotomy between, or the percentage of good versus evil on any given third dimensional, fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional planet or sphere. So that you have to factor that in. Most people are unaware of that. They're unaware that it is that way or has anything to do with it, but it does. The collective consciousness of a body in this instance, third dimensional happenings, the totality of the planet is 86% skewed towards being in service to others. Therefore, that path is an easier path because of the collective consciousness of the people of this planet being the majority in service to others. So that same thing would happen on a planet that would be reversed, where if the planet was reversed and there was above 50%, or 60, 70, or even the 86% that we currently have in service to others, if that was in service to self, then the self-serving people would have a higher potential or a better potential to become unveiled in that respect on the self-serving side than they would the people who are in service to others. But because of the dynamic here being 86% in service to others and only 14% in service to self, it's quicker. The path is actually, when you start going down that path, you will wake up faster with less difficulty, even though we all think it's really difficult to be in service to others and to wake up. Imagine that means that the people that are in service to self, it's a lower percentage of that 14% that are actually awake enough to understand or understand what's going on in the dynamic of this place. That's why 1% of them are in charge of all of the 14% and in charge and put themselves into a position of power and control over the entire planet, because it is a lower percentage of people, and they're trying to control that percentage to make sure it's only their family members and the people that they want to wake up that will wake up in service to others, in service to self. So they're trying to control even that, because self-serving people would control that, because they would want to keep all of the power, money, fame, control of a body or a planetary body like this one to their families. And so that's why they're tracking everybody. That's why they want everybody to get DNA tests. They want everybody to do testing, because they want to know where you are on the spectrum, who you are, and who you're related to. That's why that's very, 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 can't say that enough times, very, 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 very important to people who are self-serving to interbreed with the other people that are also self-serving, that test higher on the spectrum of their families and their DNA and bloodlines, because they're trying to control who can wake up when. If you've ever read Frank Herbert's Dune sagas, the first book, Dune, I think in that one they explain it. If not, Dune Messiah, the second book does. So if you're watching the movies, I don't think they talk about the Bene Gesserits enough. They leave that out a bit about what they're trying to accomplish. They mention it, but they don't tell you why. Where what's his name? Paul Atreides' mother was supposed to give birth to a daughter because they were controlling the bloodlines to control who the Kwisatz Haderach, the supreme being, the savior, was. They wanted it to be a girl, and they wanted it to be somebody they can control. Again, self-serving, self-service. But the Bene Gesserit witch, who was Paul's mother, was not in service to self, so she was in service to others, and she gave birth to a son because she was in love with Duke Leto Atreides and wanted to give him an heir, a son. And she also, I think, she was accused of trying to make the prophecy come true and create the savior, but that's not what that was about. If you read the book, she wasn't self-serving. So, but there's the same dynamic of the smaller group being in control and trying to keep the bloodlines in their control so that they could be in charge of everything. And that's exactly what they were trying to do in that respect in that movie. And that's what Frank Herbert was showing. Okay, so let me go ahead and go back over here and we will continue. But I wanted to bring that up because that dichotomies on our planet is working. And Frank Herbert was awake enough to see that and wrote about that in the Dune saga with that whole dichotomy. And at one point later on, Paul actually says to the Bene Gesserit witch, when they realize that he is awake and unveiled, he says, look to that place where you dare not look, and you will find me there staring back at you, because he did ascend to that place without their control or consent, and took control of the universe, basically, their portion of it, and they couldn't do anything about it, and it was really annoying them, and they were mad, and she tried to attack him mentally, and he basically got into her mind and was causing her pain. And you'd have to read the books. They haven't shown that part in the movies yet, because that's in part 3, because it's in the second book, and what you're seeing so far is book 1 and book 2 if you watch the movies. So it's in book 3 where that conversation takes place, or at the end of book 2. But I'm not sure, because I'm not sure what they did with the movie, how close it was to book 2, because I haven't seen that all of that yet. But I believe that they got most of that, but they didn't get to that part because there's a lot more that is entailed. Okay, so let me continue here with session 100. I think we're on question 106 or 107 now.
Questioner: it would also seem to me that, since Ra stated in the last session that the limit of the viewpoint is the source of all distortions, the very nature of the service to self-distortions that create the left-hand path are a function of the veil. Therefore, they are dependent, you might say, to some degree on at least a partial continued veiling. Does this make any sense?
Welcome, Penny. I just wanted to acknowledge that because you said hi in the chat. All right, let's continue.
Answer: I am Ra. There is the thread of logic, and what you suppose? The polarities are both dependent upon a limited viewpoint. However, the negative polarity depends more heavily upon the illusory separation betwixt the self and all other mind, body, spirit complexes. The positive polarity attempts to see through the illusion to the creator in each mind, body, spirit complex, but for the greater part is concerned with behaviors and thoughts directed towards other selves in order to be of service. This attitude, in itself, is full of the stuff of your third density illusion. Question 100.8. Questioner: the crown.
See, so literally look at that last part, right? So the positive polarity attempts to see through the illusion to the creator in each mind, body, spirit complex, each individual person, right? Mind, body, spirit complex. So that's an individual person. But for the greater part is concerned with behaviors and thoughts directed towards others' selves in order to be in service, right? In order to be of service. This attitude in itself is full of the stuff of your third density illusion. Okay. So that's literally talking about how much that's occupying, because of 86% of the people being in service to others, that most of our dichotomy that is going on down here is guided towards that. It is the 14% and 1% of that 14% that is trying to undo that and pull everybody away from being in service to others and trying to make everybody self-serving and low vibration so that they can control them.
Crown of 3 stars, we are guessing, would represent the balancing of the mind, body, and spirit. Is this in any way correct? Answer: I am Ra. This device is astrological in origin and the interpretation given somewhat confusing. We deal, in this image, with the environment of mind. It is perhaps appropriate to release the starry crown from its stricture. Question 100.9. Questioner, the small black or russet and white entities have changed so that they now appear to be sphinxes, which we are assuming means that the catalyst has been mastered. I am also assuming that they act as the power that moves the chariot depicted here, so this mastery enables the mind in its transformation to become mobile, unlike it was prior to this mastery, locked as it was within the illusion. Would Ra comment? Answer, I am Ra. Firstly, we ask that the student consider the Great Way not as the culmination of a series of 7 activities or functions, but as a far more clearly delineated image of the environment within which the mind, body, or spiritual function. Therefore, the culturally determined creatures called sphinxes do not indicate mastery over catalyst. The second supposition, that of placing the creatures as the movers of the chariot of mind, has far more virtue. You may connote the concept of time to the image of the Sphinx. The mental and mental-emotional complex ripens and moves and is transformed in time. Question 100.10. Questioner, there is the 45 minute signal. Does Ra suggest a termination of this session, taking into consideration the instrument's condition? Answer, I am Ra. Information pertinent to this query has been previously covered. The choice of termination time, as you call it, is solely that of the questioner until the point at which we perceive the instrument beginning to use its vital resources due to the absence of transferred or native physical energy. The instrument remains open, as always. Question 100.11. Questioner, in that case I will ask only one more question, and that will have to do with the sword and the scepter. It seems that the sword would represent the power of the negative adept in controlling other selves, and the scepter would indicate the power of the positive adept operating in the unity of the mind, body, and spirit. However, they seem to be in the opposite hands than I would have guessed. Would Ra comment on these observations? Answer, I am Ra. These symbols are astrological in origin. The shapes, therefore, may be released from their stricture. We may note that there is an overriding spiritual environment and protection for the environment of the mind. We may further note that the negatively polarized adept will attempt to fashion the covenant for its own use, whereas the positively polarized entity may hold forth that which is exemplified by the astrological sword, that is, light and truth. Question 100.12. Questioner, would there be 2 more appropriate objects or symbols to have the entity in card 7 holding other than the one shown? Answer, I am Ra. We leave this consideration to you, O student, and shall comment upon any observation which you may make. Question 100.13. Questioner, is there anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or to improve the contact? Answer, I am Ra. All is well. The appurtenances are most conscientiously placed. We thank this diligent group. There is much greater distortion towards harmony at this asking, and we join you in praise and thanksgiving. This is always the greatest boon to improvement of the contact, for it is the harmony of the group which supports this contact. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and the light of the One. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the One Infinite Creator. Adonai.
Okay, that's the end of session 100 of the Law of One. This should immediately go to session 101. This was November 29th, 1982. The next session should start.
Most people have no clue that in 2025, there's a hidden law that allows any American to launch their credit scores into...
Okay. Session 101, December 21st, 1982.
I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the One Infinite Creator. We communicate now. Question 101.1. Questioner, could you first please give me the condition of the instrument? Answer, I am Ra. All energy levels of the instrument are somewhat diminished due to the distortions of physical pain and recent mental emotional catalyst. However, the energy levels appear to be very liable to be improved in what you call your immediate future. Question 100.
All right, guys, I'm going to have to go. My mother has pooped herself already, and I just got her out of the shower before I started the show, so I'm going to have to go and get her in the shower. If I have time after that, I'll come back live. So I'll be back, hopefully. But otherwise, yeah, I'm going to have to take a break for about a half an hour, so I'm going to come back live at 4 p.m., which will be in about a half an hour. I do apologize for that. A short session real quick here, but I'll be back in about a half an hour once I give my mother a shower. All right, you guys, I apologize for that. I will be back live. So I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in about a half an hour.